Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Thursday, June 6th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Akron game in 86 days, the game against Michigan in 177 days. Ohio State summer camp season opened yesterday, and it opened with a little bit of a bang. A lot of very talented players there, a number of whom earned offers. Today we're going to be talking about three guys from within the state of Ohio who have probably been dreaming about an Ohio State offer for quite a while. And if so, those dreams came true on Wednesday at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Marc Givler of Buckeye Huddle was there, along with Tony Gerdeman and Kevin Noon. Had the whole crew out there. We're going to be out there again on Thursday. But Mark, let's start talking with Jameer Brown. He is a 2027 wide receiver. It is not easy to earn an offer from Brian Hartline. It is certainly not easy to earn an offer from Brian Hartline when you're not going to be able to start playing for another 3 years at the college level. But then you watched Jameer Brown at camp and you went, oh yeah, I get it. I see it.
Yeah, he had a great camp, made a lot of plays in one-on-ones, obviously looked great in drills, kind of it was like a receiver athlete, but it looks like he's definitely going to be a receiver at the next level. I think led the team in receiving as a freshman. They have a few other upperclassmen who are prospects, not maybe Ohio State caliber prospects, but are prospects, and he had more catches than those guys this past year. So he can run. I mean, someone told me he ran a 10,500 meter as a freshman. It was like runner up in the state 100. So he can absolutely fly. Offer makes a lot of sense. He had a great day today. It was clearly one of the top guys there, regardless of age. So I think we've got a pattern now of Brian Hartline just not being afraid to do this. He did it with Mylan Graham at an early age before he had anything. He offered Chris Henry going into his freshman year, which we weren't sure if he would actually pull the trigger that early on someone. And so we're seeing him kind of trust his eyes, I guess, to put it mildly, and just kind of if he thinks he sees something, he's going to just offer. He's not going to look at it as an age thing and say, well, I can't, he's too young or this or that. So he's been trusting his evaluations, and when there's a kid there that he likes, he pulls the trigger.
And the track record there, I think, would certainly back up the fact that his eyes have been doing a pretty good job of evaluating receivers. I even go back to Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Jackson Smith-Njigba was kind of a little bit of a who? Why are they offering a guy who was rated that low? And then you saw what happened with Jackson Smith-Njigba. The track record is there, and they do not give those offers out easily. It's not like he's fire hosing those out to all over the place. They had a lot of talented receivers there, but that was the offer that went out to the in-state receiver Jameer Brown for 2027 out of Wayne High School. I don't know if I said that, but out of Wayne High School. So that is number one. Number two, 2026 cornerback Victor Singleton out of Toledo Central Catholic. He was the one I started the thread for the day one of camp on our message board, and I said, he is the guy I am perhaps most interested to see of anyone there. The ratings are sort of there at some of the national sites. He was a top 50 player, I think, according to 247, but didn't have that Ohio State offer until Wednesday, and then he went out there, really performed well, and earned that offer.
Yeah, I'm a huge Victor Singleton fan. He's in my top 5 in the state of Ohio for 2026. It has been since I put out those rankings a long time ago. So, in fact, I think he was the only guy in the top 7 or 8 that didn't have an Ohio State offer. So I kind of threw out that piece of the puzzle and just kind of trusted talk about trusting our eyes. I kind of trusted my eyes on that one. And he didn't camp at Ohio State the last 2 years. And I think that's part of what kind of held him back from maybe getting this earlier. But he was tremendous today. 6 feet tall. He's super long, can really kind of cover a lot of ground. He's one of those guys when you're that tall and long, you can kind of be on the back hip of the receiver and still be in great position. You don't have to be running directly with the receiver. You have makeup potential there with that length. I think he'd be a heck of a safety too, but I think you try him at corner first. He was the best player in the state championship game this past year, and that game had several Power 5 prospects in it. So just a phenomenal talent, and again, was my top guy in Ohio without an Ohio State offer. And I think, again, one of the maybe 6 or 7 guys in Ohio in this 26 class that could be top 100 prospects nationally.
And in much the same way, you sort of trust Brian Hartline's track record in terms of evaluation and offers and production. I think Tim Walton has certainly worked himself into that same tier of recruiting at Ohio State. So when he throws out an offer to an in-state guy at his position group, you kind of go, yeah, I think he probably has a pretty good idea what he's doing. One more defensive back in-state who got an offer on Wednesday, Jakob Weatherspoon out of Avon. He's another 2026 prospect. What'd you see out of him?
Yeah, and I had seen a lot more of Singleton to this point. I had seen Victor in the state championship game. I'd seen him at some camps this offseason. Jakob was kind of a newer, I guess, evaluation for me. Knew of him, but just hadn't really kind of dove into that one yet. He was tremendous. Another kid, big, strong, athletic kid. Bigger than I thought he would be. Another kid who's got a really good track background. So again, there's kind of a common theme here: guys who can run. It sounds silly, but sounds obvious. But it's guys with track backgrounds who can really go. And again, good size and physicality. I thought, again, one of the guys that jumps out to you when you watch the one-on-ones, and then you kind of figure out who's who out there. So, oh yeah, that kid was really good today. So that's one I think to watch moving forward as well, as far as potentially being in the class of 2026 for Ohio State. But boy, it's nice to have this group in state. It's kind of crazy what 26 is doing, and that's even without Chris Henry Jr. now, who's going to get thrown into the California rankings. But this is a potentially special in-state class in 26. I'm super excited about it. I've been excited about the top 10 to 12 guys for a long time now, but as Jakob Weatherspoon kind of emerges, as some of these other guys start to emerge, it gets more and more exciting to see that this Ohio class is 15, 20 deep already.
Well, and I talked to Tony Gerdeman about this on an episode of Buckeye Weekly that we ran earlier in the week, and I wanted to ask you about it as well. My theory right now is, with NIL driving a lot of recruitments, and with the transfer portal being something that, you get guys from out of state, they come for a year, and sometimes they pop right back in after being on campus for 6 months or something like that. It feels to me like that might make in-state recruiting and building the foundation of your class with Ohio players maybe even more of an important part of that construction of your class than it even was before. And it's, Ohio State classes have always been built on the foundation of Ohio players, but, do you think that there's some truth to that?
I think what you're laying out is the ideal way. Now, Ohio has to cooperate and have the talent. There was definitely a lull there, like 2019 through 22, 21, 20, they had some lean years there for a few years. Some top heavy classes where, the top 3 guys were really good, but then after that, it was kind of hard to work some other guys into the class. I think now you're seeing the talent kind of come back to where we're used to seeing it the last few years. And again, I think 26 is going to be a really good class. But yeah, I think you want to be able to take 8 to 12 Ohio kids if you can. And at the same time, you have to remain relevant nationally. It's the country is like, it's never been smaller in the sense that kids are starting to make more broad national decisions versus maybe staying in their region, staying in their state. I think it's easier to get out of state kids than it used to be. Whether that's social media, whether that's NIL, I don't know. I mean, that'd be a good kind of case study. But I think if Ohio can produce some elevated classes, some strong classes, that's you don't have to, to your point, you don't have to play the games you may have to play with a kid from Florida or Texas. You can kind of rely on that, and you can rely, generally speaking, to them to stick it out for a couple extra years if they don't get on the field right away. It's a lot easier for a kid from Georgia or Florida to be like, I'm going to go back to the SEC and go somewhere and play if I don't play my first year than it is for an Ohio kid. So there's certainly a lot of positives to being able to get that base from Ohio.
And while they are going to pull the base from Ohio, they are not going to build the whole class out of Ohio. They might build it out of, for example, Louisiana. That is not a place where Ohio State has pulled a ton of kids over the years. but there is some talent down there on the Bayou, and Brian Kelly will not keep it all home. And on Thursday, the number one player in the class of 2026, Jakeem Stewart, who is out of Louisiana, he is going to be on campus at Ohio State. This is obviously not an official visit. He's still a 2026 guy right now. I know there's been a little bit of scuttlebutt about, maybe a reclassification, but none of that has happened yet. So this is an unofficial visit. But Mark, this feels like one that is, this might be one of the most consequential visits of the summer, because if you can get someone from the Deep South to come up to campus on his own dime, that tells you, this is someone who is seriously thinking about Ohio State. And as the number one player in the class, that feels like that could be a pretty big deal if they can make some hay on this one.
And this is his second visit since mid-April. So, I mean, he's backing up his talk. We spoke to him on Southern Swing, and he's mentioned that Ohio State was his best visit, his spring visit, and now he's going to get to come back and work with Larry Johnson for a little bit in the morning. And we'll see. I'm always going to be a little skeptical of Louisiana, of getting a kid out of Louisiana. That's just, we've seen some guys over the years that they just couldn't quite land. That being said, I had someone tell me, we were on the trip, and someone kind of told me they don't think he's going to LSU. And so if that's true, once you eliminate that, everyone has to think they have a shot. I mean, it'd be like a 5-star kid from Ohio, and someone, he's probably not going to Ohio State. Well, that would give everyone in the country some type of reason to believe that they would have a shot. So I think that's interesting. I think the possible reclassification is interesting, because I don't know if you're Ohio State, like, you're off to a good start right now. Do you want this to go 18 more months, or do you want this to go 6 more months? I think you probably want this to maybe go 6 more months. And maybe try and get him back, do the November, December official if he officially reclassifies. And so it to me is the most interesting visit of the summer of the unofficial visitors. Obviously the official visitors are the big story of June, but to me, this is the most intriguing 2026 visit of the summer. And I'm fascinated to see. We caught up with them a couple weeks ago. I'm fascinated to see kind of the comments now after working with Larry Johnson and getting a second look at things.
Well, Mark and Kevin and Tony and I will all be back out at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center on Thursday, watching Jakeem Stewart camp, watching a bunch of other big name players camp as well. This is a potentially a really, really good day. Another very interesting day. We saw about a half dozen or so offers come out of that first camp day. Could be a busy month of June over at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. And of course, it's going to be a busy month of June at BuckeyeHuddle.com as well, where we're going to have coverage of all those camps, all the 7-on-7s, all that fun stuff. That's coming up all month long, along with all the recruiting visits, officials, unofficials. Marcus had a ton of good content on the Huddle board presented by Jeff Ruby Steakhouse. Lots of interesting insight on how last week's visits went. He kind of put his flag down. Everyone planted his flag on this one. Everyone was sort of talking about Bo Jackson. Oh, is he going to go to Georgia? And Mark said, no, it is Ohio State. I'm not moving off of Ohio State. And lo and behold, Bo Jackson committed to Ohio State about 24 hours later. He put that flag down on another prospect as well. You can find out who that is on the Huddle board presented by Jeff Ruby Steakhouse by becoming a member of BuckeyeHuddle.com. Got our annual membership sale going on right now. You can get access to the site for a full year for about 40% off the usual price. Great deal. It is not going to last forever, and there's a lot of content coming this month that you're going to want to get access to, so you should go ahead and sign up for that right now at BuckeyeHuddle.com. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.